This is the Data Privacy Detective. Today we're going to talk about data provenance and privacy. Personal privacy with the rise of artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence really is nothing brand new, but now it's an acronym, AI, in common usage. AI, we hear about it all the time. It's dominating the stock markets, politics, industry. It's got our attention. And AI is already affecting our personal privacy. Let's take an example. Bathsheba. She was the mother of Solomon in biblical days by the Torah or the Old Testament. Solomon's father was King David. Now, if you ask Google's Gemini, what ethnicity was Bathsheba, you'll get an answer that it isn't certain, but she probably was Hebrew. Now, that was 3 millennia ago. We can't ask her. She's not around to tell us. And there's no recording of her because there were no such things 3 millennia ago. So what does Gemini base its answer on? Where did this information come from? She was probably Hebrew. Bathsheba means probably etymologically daughter of Sheba, which was not inside the areas then called Israel or Judah. It was an area that we today would call Yemen. Probably not many Hebrews living in Yemen 3 millennia ago. But you see, asking about this question, how valid is that data? Is asking about data provenance. And if we were asking about a living person and who the parents of that individual is, for example, who's the father, who's the mother, say of an adopted person where the mother or the father engaged in a private adoption and didn't want it known that they were the father or the mother. Well, privacy is at stake there, isn't it? That's a very private matter. And let's say the data about a major politician says, oh, so-and-so is the mother or the father of someone, and you elicit child in Old English times, the bastard pretender to the throne. I mean, this can be major stuff when you see the privacy involved. And data saying that can very much affect someone's reputation and certainly invade their privacy. So you can see how privacy matters a great deal when a data set is being created and then used to provide information that becomes AI. Well, what is data provenance? I think about it as sort of the genealogy of information, or for a work of art, the provenance is who really was the artist, and then who bought it, and who sold it to whom, and did somebody change it, and so on and so forth. Where did the information, if it's data, and that's what data is, it's information, where did the information originate? How was it used? How was it edited? How was it misused? How was it transformed over time? How do we know if data in a data set is reliable and trustworthy? Whether it's disinformation or hallucination of AI. We've seen that happen. Well, this is where the provenance of a data set comes in. You see, data sets are the blood flows of AI. That's what drives AI, data sets of information. Earlier in the computer age, as it came about, we would say GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. You put garbage in, that's what a computer is going to produce, garbage out. And misinformation and disinformation have come to be things we all understand. You put misinformation in, and you'll get disinformation spreading. So there can be major consequences as AI takes over more and more roles in what we as a human society do, and what humans used to do in oral transmission, and later hard copy, which was the way that information was shared. Stories were told, myths were created, science progressed. Well, in the digital age, it all happens in the flash of zeros and ones. And as AI expands, so expands the risk that data sets will be unreliable and invade personal privacy of many people. So there arises the need for standards for data provenance, just as standards for food safety or automobile safety or all sorts of other things to improve the human condition required standards to be met over time. So we're not poisoned by food or made more unsafe than safe by what happens to us in the workplace or driving a car. And so you can see how standard setting for data sets, the data for determining the lineage of information, the reliability of the data set become absolutely important in the AI age. Otherwise, AI will be misused and it's going to create harm and it will invade privacy, personal privacy, and the reputations of individuals when the data sets do not have good provenance and are actually based on incorrect information. Well, how are standards for the provenance of data and data sets coming about? Well, government regulation, one might say, is one approach. But here, governments are catching up with the great pace of technological change. There's no gold standard. There's probably no colorable standard at all set by government about data provenance at this point. Now, there are major efforts underway in the private sector. These come from the tech sector and the business world because they want, of course, AI to be used responsibly and to have data provenance that backs up the reliability and accuracy of data that is informing the algorithms that AI depends upon. Now, one such initiative you will see by the Data Provenance Initiative. This is powered by Cohere, and it aims to track and trace data sources within data sets. I understand that Data Provenance Initiative, it's a nonprofit, has audited and traced information within about 2,000 data sets to determine its provenance. And you can picture a variety of techniques by which this is measured that allows ultimately the provenance to be set as to its origin, its accuracy, and reliability of data that is feeding AI. You could check out dataprovenance.org. Another major effort is by the Data and Trust Alliance. Now, this is a nonprofit group of major Western companies, including Walmart, Deloitte, Humana, Pfizer, MasterCard, and others. And the goal here is to produce voluntary standards, not government standards, but voluntary standards for data provenance. Think of this like voluntary standards we see for safety and reliability in many other fields. Think of UL for a minute. United Laboratories, absolutely essential U.S. Label for electrical products. Well, that isn't government. That's a private entity that has become seen as the electrical standard in many ways, UL. Think of food safety standards. Think about shopping at a grocery store and seeing labels about organic or the level of whether fish is farm or wild, fish is coming from an endangered area or not. These are really private standards that are emerging with labels that claim to give consumers guidance about such things. Well, this should apply to data, shouldn't it? And we'll talk in our next episode, number 176, with representatives of the Data and Trust Alliance about standards for reliable use of AI, data provenance standards that were just announced in June of 2024. And these standards cover data provenance by thinking about all of the following 8 things about data that go into a data set. The data type, its source, legal rights associated with the data, privacy and protection, lineage of the data, the generation date, and the material, the intended use, and restrictions that may apply to the data and use of the data. Well, privacy aspects are an essential part of setting standards. Here are some of the questions we have to explore. Can AI use personal data of individuals that were gathered without their consent? Can AI use personal identities in formulating data sets about a mass of people? How reliable is data that cannot be traced definitively back to somebody to see if they granted consent and whether the data is correct, at least according to the individual about whom it concerns? And does the individual have a right to correct or delete such data that is included in a data set? What happens if personally identifiable information is included in a data set and then it's used to broadcast or leak that information in a way that exposes the personally identifiable individual? And then that allows someone to take malicious or unwanted action against that person. Does anyone truly have a right to be forgotten? A right not to be doxxed? A right not to be maligned because of one's identity, race, national origin, religion, or sexual orientation? About whether one's pregnant and what a woman's going to do about her pregnancy? Well, tune in next week to episode 176 as we dig deeper into this critical point of data provenance and privacy, how they intersect, and how, as a society, we're going to deal with them. And in the meantime, as I always end my episodes, remember, protecting your personal privacy begins with you.